Good morning, my beauties, wherever you are in the world today. Thank you for joining us for another episode of A Crystal Clear Mind. And today I am very blessed to be joined by the lovely Becky Grimwood. Hiya, Becky. Nice to have you with us. Thank you ever so much for joining us today. Becky is the owner of Soul Balance, and she is a fertility support practitioner as well. I'm going to just try and say this without getting all tongue-tied, an auricular acupuncturist. Does that make you? Yeah? Oh, I got it. And she's a yoga instructor. And then one that I've never heard of before, which I absolutely love, which is a 3-step rewind practitioner. So, as always with the guests, I'm going to pass it over to you, Becky, because honestly, nobody could explain all this stuff better than you can, my lovely. So please take it away. I can't wait to hear all about it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Absolute honor to be here and spreading the word about what I do. So fertility support is obviously the main aspect of my business, and that's what I'm here sort of really to talk about today. And fertility is still a very taboo subject quite often, and I don't like that word taboo. It's sort of my mission really to spread the word and make people more aware of what's going on, how they can support themselves, how they can support each other. And so, I'll come on to sort of how I started and why I started in a moment. But even if somebody isn't experiencing fertility issues for themselves currently, they will know someone that has or is currently experiencing
It has
fertility issues.
become that rife at the moment, hasn't it? It really has. I think it's increased a lot recently.
Absolutely. So it's around 1 in 6 couples will experience
Wow.
fertility issues. So it is a large number, and it's growing, and the number of people seeking sort of medical support for fertility is growing year on year. And, our birth rate is going down every year. So it is an area that, needs support, needs looking into. But obviously that's, around that and around the data and around the medical work, what we are looking at and what needs to be looked at more and more is how to support people. So not to see people as numbers and data, is to how to support the whole person's health, physical, emotional, spiritual, everything. And so that is what I do as Soul Balance. That's where my passion is. And that's sort of my main aim of what I do. So I came into this business after a long journey of infertility myself. So infertility is when you've been trying for a year and you're a healthy couple and, it's around 12 months, you're defined as having infertility if nothing has happened. So we had infertility. It was over 2 years of trying. We were in our 3rd year, I think. And to be honest, I was in my mid-30s at that point, and people, we had the well-meaning people saying, oh, you've got plenty of time, you're healthy, don't worry, it'll happen, you just relax. And fertility really wasn't on my our radar. We were trying to conceive, but we never even thought there'd be a problem. You never do. You're taught in school in sex education, aren't you, that it just happens,
One-on-one.
by accident. Um, and so,
Yeah.
and my friends and stuff and family, they'd had children, and I didn't really know anyone, or so I thought, that had issues at the time. And so it was never really sort of in our mind that, there might have been an issue of some sort. So we had, like I say, after a certain amount of time, and I was in mid-30s, and I started to read more after that time. And I thought, I'm healthy, I'm a healthy weight. I exercise, I was a runner. I thought I couldn't be more healthy as I am now. The life I lead, with good people, just all those things that go in your head, and you just think, this isn't fair. What's going on? And so we went for, tests and investigations. And one of the biggest things that hit me was the same line that was repeated over and over again, which was, and I'm sure it will resonate with people who have been on this journey, but it was 80% of couples who've been having sex regularly and, no other issues, 80% of couples will conceive in their first year of trying. After that, another 10%. So 90% of people within 2 years of trying will conceive. And so every appointment we had in the NHS and some fertility clinics as well, we heard this same line. And from day one of being sort of going for support, that same line was drilled into us. And obviously, when you're in that situation, what you take from that is, so I am failing. I am, or we, I'm taking this as me because I'm speaking, but it's totally, obviously, for us, a couple's thing. We went through this together. But for me, I took that as, I am in that 10%, I am failing. And when you hear that over and over again, brought in with all the other sort of language that goes with fertility and pregnancy loss and early pregnancy, and it's quite often it's around failing this, failing pregnancy, failed transfer, failed
Yeah,
ovulation.
it's got like a naturally negative terminology to it, hasn't it? Which, as you
It
said, when you're feeling very raw and very sensitive, that has a huge impact on you.
absolutely. And so of course when you have that from the people that you're going to support you, quite often you don't want to talk about this with other people because you feel like a failure. You have that kind of shame. And yeah, it's that you have that shame, that upset, the disappointment, the anger, whatever it is, and then you're having these messages of you're in this sort of minority now. And actually, as I've come to do this work and past that, I realize, yes, it may be a minority percentage wise in that scale, but it is so huge, the amount of
Yeah.
people that have fertility issues. And because we felt alone, I especially felt really alone in that journey. Although I had my partners very supportive and with me wholeheartedly, completely, it is very lonely. And so you don't feel like you can talk to friends and family as openly quite often. I mean, this is me generalizing, everybody is different, but quite often, and there was a survey done, I can't remember who it was by, but no, it's gone. But fairly recently, and it was saying around 90% of people on a fertility journey don't feel like they can go to their friends and family support because they don't feel like they're going to get the understanding.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when you have that, so you keep it all in. You have the sort of medical world, which is very, you go with that, and then they say, okay. So for us, it was unexplained infertility. So unexplained infertility being a very broad umbrella term of, okay, we've done the general tests that we do for everyone. Your cycle is regular. You're healthy, from what we can see from our general tests. And, actually, so we don't know. So after that stats for the first 2 years, it was, okay, so you can keep on trying because yours is unexplained. So you should be able to get pregnant. So, and actually, I think one of the doctors said to me, just keep trying, you've got time, you should get pregnant. I was like, okay, great. I should. Marvelous. And so, part of me can look back on that now and laugh because I just think how ridiculous that was. But
Yeah.
obviously in the
What
time,
advice?
yeah, you just
Mm.
think it's just not what you need to hear at all. And it's, wrong.
Yeah.
So yeah, so after that, so we went for IVF. That was what sort of suited us at the time. It wasn't free in our area, still a postcode lottery for funding and what you get, and you have to be the right sort of fit in their perfect circle for funding. But so it wasn't funded for us, but we went through IVF. We were lucky that we were able to do that, and we had the support of our family for that as well, which we are ever grateful for. And we were blessed and very lucky that the first cycle worked for us. It wasn't without issues, we had to do a frozen transfer because I was overstimulated by the hormones and stuff. So, But luckily, we were blessed with our son who was born in that first cycle. So we went through that, everything that happened. And of course, then you've got what you wanted. You're blessed with this thing that you really want. And for me, when I was pregnant now, looking back, this started, but I noticed it afterwards. Postnatal depression and anxiety hit full on. And of course, then you can't feel like you can't talk to
Yeah.
people about that either, because you think, but hold on a minute,
Because you
I've got
wanted this. Yeah.
yeah. So
Great
why
guilt.
why am I not happy? Why,
Yeah.
And of course you're not happy. I mean, this won't happen to everyone, but of course you're not, because you have had years of mini traumas of every month, that circle of trying, it not working, and then sometimes your period is late, so you get your hopes up for a day or two, and those feelings of hope are really strong, and then they obviously come down when your period starts, and you have those hormones going crazy because stress is coming in and affecting everything in your body. So yeah, like I say, postnatal depression, anxiety hit, and obviously we were so grateful, and that those feelings are never take away the happiness for your
No, of
child, and the
course
gratefulness.
not. And the pregnancy must be hard, though, once you do achieve it, whether it's with medical intervention or not. You must just panic all the way through until you are actually at the birth and you know everything's okay and you hear that cry. You must just
Mm,
be on tenterhooks the whole time. That in itself, 9 months of that on top of what you've already gone through, no matter how many years it is, of course something's going to crash and, hit you like a rock.
mm,
And it doesn't reduce
absolutely.
the fact that it doesn't take away the fact that you are absolutely blessed and happy and got exactly what you wanted.
Mm,
Unfortunately, it's kind of traumatic and chemical and hormonal, and it's everything, isn't it?
mm. Absolutely. And I think that's what people don't have an understanding of, is situations like that, and infertility, your moods, your emotions, your stress, everything that's causing changes in your body. There's things you can do to sort of help manage that, which I know now, obviously, but most of the time you you cannot help that. You cannot help external stressors. External stressors are going to come in, and it's knowing that, those responses are because of hormones in your body, because of
Yeah.
what's in your body, what you've experienced during your journey or in your childhood from your past. The traumas stuck in your body, the stress, the environmental factors in your body. It's not you failing to get pregnant. It's not about that. It's nothing is about failure. It's that things aren't optimized to sort of work efficiently at that time, or there's something that we need to sort of tweak and change and help improve to sort of help the flow. But you just don't know that. It's just not something, yeah, people are aware of. And anyway, anyway, so
Yeah, but
we,
it is something that people should be aware of. I mean,
yeah,
I've
yeah,
always loved a holistic approach to anything where you look at the whole person. And I love that that's what you do in this scenario is you look at the whole person
mm,
because mentally and emotionally has to play a humongous part in this journey for people, right?
absolutely. So people don't realize perhaps that mentally and emotionally, what is happening mentally and emotionally affects you physically. So quite often when you're on a fertility journey, when you look for kind of intervention and support down the medical route, you're guided to, and what's been investigated is the physical. So you may have scans and tests and things like that, and they are looking at the physical. They're looking at blood flow, hormone level, and all kinds of things, um, mobility of sperm and sperm count and that sort of thing. But very rarely is the sort of spiritual, emotional, mental side investigated and even asked about. And people not realizing the sort of the mental side of things, the emotional side of things, those that wellness aspect affects everything in your body. It affects the makeup of the cells in your body, the cells that are laid down in your organs, the flow of blood and hormones around your body. And if your blood flow and energy flow isn't working optimally, if your organs aren't working efficiently,
Yeah.
transmitting and sending, receiving those signals and that flow around the body, and you've got that inflammation, it causes problems. It may be manifest as problems. It may manifest physically as problems, obviously, with your menstrual cycle being irregular, with menstrual and hormonal issues, things like endometriosis and PCOS. And but aside from that, affecting other aspects of your life, so, fatigue and immune system, and, it affects everything in your body. And when we just look at the physical side, and the physical side is huge, and absolutely we need support with the physical side and we need the medical investigations. But when we look at that and ignore completely the emotional, spiritual, mental side of things, we are missing out a huge aspect, and we're missing out potentially the causes
Yeah.
of the infertility. So, yeah, so that's obviously, I look back now at our fertility journey, and it's as I said to you, we were healthy. We did everything we thought we could do and should do. It is that should. I don't like shoulds.
No,
So
I
I
don't.
do hesitate to say a should. But, we thought we were doing
Yeah.
everything we should do. And but then I look back and I think I had trauma, most people do, be it trauma they know about or don't know about, be it
Yeah.
resolved or unresolved. I had trauma that I didn't know. I was in an incredibly stressful job. I was a teacher. And anyone that knows a teacher or has experience of themselves know what a stressful job it is. Those of people outside the educational world that don't know it don't know the stress of the job. And I have been surprised and saddened doing this role that I do now, how many people come to me from the education sector who are having issues. And so, yeah, that kind of cements my thoughts there, that actually a lot of the stress that I was under was, from that. And of course I knew that at the time, but you realize more when you're past something, don't you?
You just keep going, don't you? You just keep plodding and you just keep moving on, and one foot in front of the other. It's what you got to do. And we're back to
Mm,
should. It's that should mindset.
mm,
I should keep my job. I should keep going. I should just carry on with it, and I should stay.
mm,
And it isn't until later on when you look back and you've done this kind of healing and you've been on this different path of yours moving forward that you look back
mm,
and kind of go, "Oh, do you know what? Throw out the shoulds. The shoulds are not important." And, you know, maybe if I'd have left earlier, I could have, helped myself better. And it's incredible how many people I have on the podcast that are ex-teachers. They're all
mm,
in some sort of holistic kind of acts of service, trying to help people through some sort of trauma bond or another. And they're all come from a teaching background. It's mad, isn't it?
mm. It really is. And, this is not to the exclusion, obviously, of any other, there's so many jobs, there are
Yeah.
jobs that are harder, it's what. And I always say this to people when I chat to them and they come to me talking about fertility. I say everybody is unique on your journey. You can go through exactly the same experience as somebody else. So you may have a same timeline for trying to get pregnant. You may have the same issues, it may be unexplained for both of you. You may be completely healthy. You may be in your 30s. That can be the same. But how people respond to that and how people feel with that and the mental, physical, emotional health that they're bringing into that is always completely different. Everybody's unique on their journey and no one size fits all for support. And that's another issue when it comes to just going down the medical route. And again, the medical route is needed for us, but just going down that to the exclusion of the other side of health means that we are sort of forgetting that everybody's unique. we want people to fit into that window. Okay, these are the medications we're going to use. And yes, that might differ slightly depending on people, but this is root. Okay, you're experiencing unexplained infertility. You've been trying, it's not working. Okay, maybe we should go down IVF. Good. We go down IVF. These are our plans for IVF. A, B, C. Which one do you want? Which one?
Yeah.
It's yeah, there are roots, but it's not looking at the whole, it's not looking at the individual. And that's where the holistic side of things and supporting people with that is so important. The just relax and you'll get pregnant, just go on holiday and you'll get pregnant, just, stop trying and you'll get pregnant is not helpful, but understandable why people say it. It's well-meaning.
Yeah.
And if you come to look at the basis of some of those things about relaxing and getting pregnant, yes, because it's not going to happen for everyone, but the process of limiting, minimizing, or trying to cut out some of the stress and relaxing helps to take away the inflammation of the cells, helps to soothe the cells and decrease that inflammation, helps the blood flow to optimize and to flow properly around the body, helps your nervous system to come to regulate and balance, helps the hormones to balance. So yes, relaxing is such a key part of it, and cutting out the stress. And so going on holiday might help because you're relaxing, but it is not an answer. It is not a do this and you'll get pregnant at all. And also, if you're not aware, or most commonly, if you don't know how to relax, if you can't because you've been stuck in that stress state, being told just relax is like somebody saying to an angry person, calm down. You,
Yeah.
you just can't. It gets your back up. It hits all those emotions and you just think, how can I relax? And so a huge part of what I do is helping people with that, helping people to find, even if it's short moments of time, to be able to relax and let go a little, to be able to sort of find that ease and that gentleness. And so the yoga I do is fertility focused yoga through Soul Balance. The 3-step rewind I do, open trauma, again, I trained in that for fertility focused. And auricular acupuncture, again, for helping to optimize the blood flow, the energy, the spiritual, the physical, emotional, everything. Acupuncture can target your organs, your blood flow, your hormones. It can work on the chakras, everything. And so those things I trained in to support my fertility clients, specifically with every aspect of their health. So we weren't just looking at the physical side. And, I'm completely open with people as, I am not an expert in every area of fertility. I can guide people on their nutrition, but actually what I do is signpost to a nutritionist for
Yeah.
fertility, because you need people working together holistically for the whole person, for the whole body, for the health. And I say health, we think physical, don't we? But the health, all aspects of health. And so yeah, that's really what I do with those. Yeah. So
Yeah, I've said to you before when we've spoken that I think that what you do is very important in what is essentially an incredibly chaotic, busy world, which is just getting more and more stressful every day. And everyone's kind of really feeling that, and they're sort of sinking into that feeling. I feel now more than ever we need these more holistic approaches, because when we learn about holism, we learn that that the physical is a reaction to an emotional or a mental state, and it's a symptom of. And I still feel that there are just so many people walking around with all sorts of ailments that don't realize that there's more to it than just my knee hurts, I've got a problem with my back, or whatever it may be. So what you do, because of your specialty and all that information and that training that you've done, I think that you are just doing the most amazing thing for a lot of people that are really going to be struggling at this point. Again, with all those external stresses as well of this world and how crazy it is. And I feel that because the NHS is getting more and more busy and more, try not to insult the NHS completely, disrupted, disorganized,
Overwhelmed, isn't it? That's the thing.
overwhelmed. Great choice, yeah. The response to people in that moment, like the response to people with mental health issues, it can be quite glibly put, just kind of like, as you said, very much like telling an angry person just to calm down. It's almost like just, you'll be fine, or you're not going to be fine. And it's not enough for people. You can't expect people to process that in that manner. So I absolutely love what you do. So I'm dead curious. What is the 3-step rewind?
So the rewind process is a way of unhooking the neural pathways that have been laid down by a traumatic experience or memory. So when you experience trauma, and as I touched on earlier, trauma is subjective too. And so we quite often think of trauma as huge events. We think about people that have experienced wars and, loss of a significant loved one and, things we think of significant life-changing events as trauma, and they absolutely are. But what we don't think of is perhaps things that happened in our childhood and even, bullying in the workplace, things that were said to you as a teenager growing up that affected you, things that medical traumas and environmental things, family circumstance, cultural, all these things that could be traumas. And again, I touched on fertility. When you're trying, you have that trauma, that mini trauma every month and it is absolutely a mini trauma and they stack up. So these traumas, if we haven't dealt with them, and got sort of not over them, you never get over it, but you move on from it. Yeah. If we haven't done that, then those traumas are laid down in our cells, and cells have a memory, and those trauma links are in there, and they're in our brain. They're laid down in our brain in neural, in that sort of memory bank in the brain. It's a put there around the bank.
Literally right there.
It's received and it's stored in there. And then whenever we have that whenever we're faced with a trigger, something that reminds us of that trauma, that past event, and again, it may be laid down so far long ago that you don't really remember it in significant detail, but something comes along later in life and it brings you stress and tension and anxiety, and there's a reason. It's because something has happened that you then face this experience or this trigger, whatever it is, and your brain just goes, I know this, I need to worry now, I need to be on my guard. And it triggers all those responses in the body, sending out that stress hormone cortisol, rising that. And when your stress and your cortisol is high, it affects the production of the other hormones and the hormones that you need for reproduction, estrogen, your progesterone, your testosterone. And so it interrupts that. And that's because your brain has these pathways connected, associated with this memory or memories or phobias. And so the rewind is for phobias as well. And by doing the rewind technique, much like EFT, EMDR, you're looking at disconnecting or unhooking those pathways.
Yeah.
That has the memory and the response in your body. And so we want to take away or minimize at least that response in the body. So that memory is always going to be there. And if it's, a sadness or a grief, you're going to still feel the sadness and grief, because sadness and grief they're emotions that need to be processed. Yeah. We need to experience all of our emotions. Pushing them down is another factor which causes inflammation and dis-ease in the body. So we need the natural feelings and emotions there. You will have that. But what you will take away and minimize and hopefully neutralize is that trauma response. So the response of breathlessness, rising heart rate, the panic attacks. And it's a process that's done over 3 sessions. Very occasionally it's 4, but it's generally 3 sessions. And it guides you in playing back that memory, or, a snapshot of memories, almost like a film. And you play back that in your mind and you kind of watch it from different angles. And there's things that you can do if it's too traumatic for you to do that. But you watch it from different angles and different perspectives. And then when all that's done, you start to think and visualize, the future you, the you that will be after you've resolved these, after you've processed this trauma, and you're living your life as you want it to be. And so that process sort of evolves over 3 sessions, and it's really successful in just, like I say, minimizing that trauma response and giving people a feeling of lightness. I worked with somebody quite early on in doing this who did this on a fertility journey. She had experienced losses, multiple losses, and she wanted to try again. But the energy within her was just she was exhausted,
Yeah.
In every aspect of her wellness and health. And so by doing this, she said she could feel something physically leave her body, and she just felt lighter. And yes, she cried. And, I welcome crying in everything I do. Crying is beautiful because it's your body releasing
Yeah.
what it needs to let go of. And, just that feeling of physical leaving her body and that lightness. And she conceived so quick, naturally. She'd been through IVF and stuff. She conceived naturally after. And of course, just that feeling, helping her to put herself in that position.
Yeah.
She felt healthy, energized, more able to try again. That's everything. And so the rewind is that process of helping you to get past that thing that's stuck in your body. And quite often the rewind it can be used without talking about, to the practitioner. You don't have to tell the practitioner your memory. So if you're feeling shame or embarrassment, you don't have to tell me or any other rewind practitioner the details of what happened, particularly in like PTSD.
Yeah.
If talking about it brings up panic attacks and, you're not able to talk about it, then you can use the rewind technique. And even if it's not successful in completely neutralizing those aspects, by taking it down, people can find then they are able to get themselves in that position with something like PTSD or chronic complex trauma. They get themselves in that position where they've kind of just opened the box again, and they're able then to access things like talking therapies, where
Yeah.
they can then begin to really process and unpick things. And so it's a really successful tool in just, to clear that blockage that's there. So I found it helpful in fertility. It's also super for birth trauma, breastfeeding trauma, anything else like that. So, yeah. One of the reasons I did that was because, I've been blessed now with 2 children. After having my first child, we had pregnancy loss and obviously all the trauma that came with it. I worked through that in the best way I could. I was studying yoga for miscarriage at the time. So, I had tools that I could use, and I did process that myself. And I feel okay with that. But when that happens, I'm not even going to give an example of when that happens in certain situations. As I say, trauma is processed differently by different people, but sometimes we need external help. We cannot process that on our own. And so that's why I went into the rewind technique, to help people as another tool, really, to support them to then get back to sort of a more state of optimized health. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
no, it sounds fascinating. Really, like, making me sort of go, "Ooh, I want to know more." But so, so helpful. Like so helpful.
mm,
I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine that being quite a weight lifted. As you said, even if it's not a complete severance of that tie to that trauma, but even if it's just a lightening of that load, what a
mm,
difference that can make. And over time, eventually it could become um a complete severance in the end, couldn't it? You know. Um I've never
absolutely.
heard of it before at all. That's absolutely fascinating. So it's actually for any trauma, I take it, but obviously you use it towards supporting the fertility journey. That's
Hmm.
yeah, I can't believe I haven't come across that at all. Like that's really interesting. Really interesting. And I love the
Yeah.
story about your lady that managed to get pregnant afterwards. That's incredible. But it goes to
Um,
show, doesn't it? It's not always about the physical. I mean, we know it is, but it's all connected. It's all connected, isn't it? You know, and I think as humans, we hold on to so much, don't we? You know, like we don't even know half the things that we're hanging on to, or half the things that are triggering us on a daily basis. I mean, it's all part of that journey, isn't it? That kind of that healing, that growing, that getting better journey for ourselves. That you come across things and it kind of blows your mind. You didn't know you were hanging on to these things, you know. So yeah,
mm,
no, absolutely fascinating. And the auricular acupuncture, because we touched on this in a full episode with Jackie. It's Jackie, isn't it?
yes.
Yeah, it is. It's Jackie Ralph, isn't it?
It's
Yeah, yeah,
Jackie.
yeah. I have got. Yeah, I'm just making sure I got the right person there. Yeah. So we touched on that as a whole episode, and obviously Jackie does it for everybody, for everything, for every ailment possible, whether that's mental or physical or otherwise. But you've studied it again specifically to support your fertility ladies, haven't you? And
Absolutely.
how does that work?
So, um, much like Jackie, yes, I do use it generally for anyone, but the reason I went into it was to support again the whole wellness going into optimizing your fertile health. That's why I trained in it. So, when it comes to fertility, we're looking at again everyone being unique, it being so broad. And so it may be that people come to me and they have irregular periods. And so we look at the sort of whole health of their body, including their emotional state, stress, and everything. If it is that it's that side of things, emotional stress, then we use the acupuncture to target those areas to help calm the vagus nerve, tone the vagus nerve. And for those people that don't know, the vagus nerve being the main nerve in the brain that helps us to um, helps our parasympathetic nervous system, that helps us to rest and digest. And when we're faced with chronic stress and emotions all over the place, our vagus nerve isn't working efficiently. And so we work on things like the vagus nerve, help bring our body back to homeostasis, back to the idealized state, help to decrease the stress hormone. And so in auricular acupuncture, the ear acts as a remote control for anywhere on the body, internally, externally, and can be used for the chakras as well, the energy centers in our body. So if it's from a stress state, anxiety, which is oh so common on fertility journeys, then we look at that. If it is a pain thing, so if there is pain in the body, and pain causes inflammation, but not only that, it affects the stress hormone to rise, which decreases the flow and the production of the reproductive hormones. We want to look at reducing and taking away that pain. And again, acupuncture is used for that. Acupuncture can be used for your whole general health and wellness of keeping your blood flowing, your chi, your energy flowing. So it's really what people come to me with. And we can use it as well to support during IVF and other processes, other stages of your cycles to optimize different stages to work on different areas. And there's obviously areas we know that we can't work on at different stages in the cycle if you're trying to conceive. Or there's the possibility you may be pregnant. There's certain areas like we'd stay away from the uterus and any
Yeah.
surrounding areas. And
Yeah, that
so,
makes sense.
yeah, acupuncture is used, to whole body. Obviously, a lot of people, when you say acupuncture, people have been for whole body quite often for pain, or they know of it. I target just the ear because there's over 200 points there, and again, just what people come with, their
Jeez, there's
symptoms.
200 points in there.
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely. Over 200 points that we know of in the ear.
Yes.
And so what you do is you take what people are saying and what people aren't saying as well. In what I do, and as I'm sure you do, and any holistic practitioner, it's quite often what goes unsaid, we can pick up on as well.
Yeah.
So what is said and what's not said, and always ask about sleep, always ask about digestion in anything I do, because our digestion is linked to depression, anxiety, our depression, our gut health is linked to so much in our body
Yeah.
we don't realize. Always ask about sleep, always ask about digestion. And so all of those things, and then what's most important is actually looking at the ear itself, picking up on heat, picking up on cold, picking up on veins, and just trying to keep everything flowing as best it should, sending energy where it's not, drawing something away where it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And yes, that's obviously hits everything, physical, emotional, spiritual as well.
Oh, no, that's absolutely incredible. So, yeah, I mean, what's next? That would be my next question to you is what is next on that learning journey for you that would then continue to support everybody else on their fertility path? What do you think might be next?
See, as
Because we
as
never stop learning. We never stop wanting to learn either, do
no,
we?
no,
We
and
start.
as an ex-teacher, I am all about the learning, and I do actually have a massive long list on my phone of things that I could do. And a couple of wise people have said to me that you shouldn't, shouldn't, uh, let's rephrase, have said to me that by jumping from learning to learning to learning to learning, yes, you're taking on so many new skills and you can support so many people, but how much deeper could you support those people in what you do because you already have the skills? And for me, in what I do covers such a broad area that yes, I am a learning geek. I do want to learn more. Absolutely. I may go into different areas of acupuncture. No, I won't. I have a long list. But for me, the key thing I want to do now is not about learning. It's about getting that word out there. It's about finding those people, those 1 in 6 who need help but don't know what's out there. It's about reaching out in my local area and beyond and letting people know what's out there and letting people know who are going through that journey that there's support there. Helping people to support other people. That's my goal, perhaps, for the foreseeable future. That's my next goal, is how can I spread the word? How can I support people? How can I demonstrate the effectiveness is a horrible technical word, is what's popped into my mind, but
Yeah, but I understand what you mean. You'd like to be able to show people just how effective these things really are so that because sometimes it does take a little bit of show and tell to help people understand, doesn't it? Sometimes, some people they will go with the flow and try all sorts of things, very open-minded. And some people do need a little bit of a nudge. So I do understand what you mean.
mm, it's because the scientific and medical route we have as a sort of a collective of people. Most people have that as their fail safe. And when we're talking about fertility, it's right, medical route. I trust the doctors wholeheartedly. And yes, they are very, professionals, wonderful professionals. I wouldn't have got where I was with my family without the doctors. But it's about knowing that actually when we come to holistic health and whole health, there is currently less research and less investigation behind it
Yeah.
currently, because it's newer, because it can be so broad, because different things work for different people. And it's about, again, working with that individual that is. And so that's really what I want to get across. And I know these things work. These are effective. These are needed. These are successful. They are specific and they are scientific. But because they're not offered on the NHS,
Yeah.
fertility yoga, so supportive in different stages of your cycle and beyond and leading to. It's, and the acupuncture and the rewind, so needed. Much like things like reflexology,
Yeah.
so many holistic aspects to support your whole health that I just want to, it's my sort of mission to really get that across as much as I can and to spread the word as much as I can and realize that everybody can help, even if you don't know somebody that's going through it. You can all help by being that person that is there, that is supportive, that shares things, that acknowledges and understands and
Mm.
knows those things. And my biggest thing about getting that word out there, that's for everyone. My biggest mission for those people going through this journey is to develop their self-love and self-compassion.
Yeah.
Because self-love and compassion is the thing that goes pretty quickly, generally, on the fertility journey. We lose trust in ourselves. We lose trust and faith in our body. We blame ourselves. And so getting back that self-love and compassion, which is a huge focus, particularly of the yoga that I do, bringing back into that heart chakra, releasing some of that grief. It's just so important. And that's if say I could one wish for the people that come to me. Obviously, if they want to get pregnant, I want them to get pregnant. But my one wish, because we cannot guarantee that,
Yeah.
is that they find love and compassion for themselves, whatever their journey may be, whatever their path leads them. And finding and gathering and securing that for themselves is everything to me. So no matter where they lead to, if they come to me and say, thank you, I feel so much lighter, or I feel like I trust myself, or I feel, taking back a little bit of control for ourselves.
Just coming
Yeah.
out the other side of it, no matter what the end result, just a bit better than without that support is an incredible accomplishment. It is a very difficult subject to navigate through, and the fact that you've got this experience of your own and everything else and your own story behind it, and you can tell. I say this a lot about the people I talk to, because I talk to passionate people all the time, and that's what I do. I love it, but it resonates from you. You are you have such belief in what you are talking about, and you can see how much you want to help people as well, which is just beautiful. And I'm sure there are a lot of people that need it. So no, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. Well done, you. Really, it's a fabulous thing to do.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always something that it's what I feel called to do. I have been called to do it. I was saying when we've chatted previously that actually I was coming to the end of my teaching career. I knew it wasn't for me. And once I'd had the 2 kiddies, I just thought, well, yoga training came up in between the 2 kiddies. I was blessed with a lady that I did yoga with in pregnancy. I trained for her and I taught for her and I still do. That came up at the right time. Then as I went through the pregnancy loss, yoga for miscarriage, I don't like the word miscarriage. It suggests you've done something wrong and you haven't. But the pregnancy loss yoga came up at the right time for me.
Yeah.
I thought, goodness, this is right. I'd already decided at that point to train in the fertility yoga because I thought I want to offer this to people who have been through what I went through. And of course, then people come out, not of the woodwork, but people come out, your friends, your family, and you hear things that actually it wasn't easy for you. You went through this too, and you
Yeah.
don't realize that. And so things just came up at the right time. And of course, I had my 2 kiddies, and I just thought teaching is just not where my passion is anymore. It's not where my energy is. Where my energy is helping people in a different way. Teaching helps people significantly, but it's helping people in a different way, in a way that actually there's not enough. There's more and more now, more than when I was trying, but there's not enough support. Ideally, I want anybody in this situation to go, okay, my cycles aren't regular. I know there's support for that. Okay, I'm trying to conceive and it's taken longer than I expect. There's support. I can have support for this. Much like when we have running and we are injured and we think, oh, I need to go and see a physiotherapist. I need to go and have a massage. That's what I was getting at. I need to go and have a massage. I'm tight. I'm tense. I need a massage on my shoulders. That this aspect isn't where I want it to be. There's somebody that can support this, and there's other broad things that can support this as well as route A, medical. So yeah, that's really what I want to see for people, have for people.
And I mean, in all fairness, if we want to look at a grander, bigger picture here, the pressure it would release from the very overwhelmed NHS if there were alternatives where you could go and try these different things. And I am talking broadly, not just fertility here. Try other things that could help you before you attempt going to a doctor. Obviously, we're not talking about broken legs and limbs falling off, or the very, very big things in life where only medical care can help. But there are plenty of things that we can go and just start from a holistic side, as you said earlier, like reflexology, massage, acupuncture. There are many, I couldn't even name them all, many avenues you can go down to assist and support yourself. And if it doesn't work, you don't get better, or they even turn around and say, actually, you need to see a doctor, then, that would be great. I mean, imagine what pressure that would take off the NHS if we all had that almost as our first option before we go down a direct medical route. That would be incredible.
And I think the thing is, it's open to everyone. So if you go down a medical route for illness or injury or whatever it is, you generally have to fit, like I said before, in that circle. You have to have experienced whatever it is for a certain amount of time. It needs to be a certain scale on the pain level, or,
Yeah.
it needs to disrupt your life in such a way that you are deserving of that slot. Because obviously NHS, overwhelmed, underfunded, etc., you need to be desperate to get that help that you require, and you shouldn't have to be. And so, like you say, if there's things that you can do and things that people can do before it gets to that stage, that can only just alleviate some of that pressure. And actually, people don't want those. If they can get past something or solve something or help something holistically, so they don't have to get to that point where they are taking loads of chemicals, where they're having an operation, where, if they don't have to get to that point and it's easy accessible in a different way, then people would choose that and alleviate a lot of pressure. I mean, I'm not an expert on the NHS or politics, but
No, me neither. I don't pretend to be either. But I mean, just in theory, it's
yeah,
a potentiality. I don't think that's actually a word. I think I just made up a word there, potentiality.
I like
No,
it.
I don't think it's real, but I like it a lot, actually.
Mm.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thought, actually. It's quite a curious one, but Thank you so
Mm.
much for joining us today. Honestly, it's been a real pleasure having you on. And hopefully, as with all the guests that I have on, we reach out to ever so many countries. We're nearly hitting 30 countries around the world now. That I know that when people tune in, it's almost like they know when to tune in for the right episode. So in my eyes, if you're listening now, this is probably meant for you. And I really hope that anything that Becky has said today is of use, or just that feeling that someone understands. And please feel free to check Becky out. As always, I'll put all of her details and her in the bio and her links and everything else. And you can see all the ways that you can find her and work with her, if that is definitely on your part of your journey. Thank you so much for being with us today. Really absolutely fascinating and really lovely as well.
Thank you so much. I could talk for hours, but it's probably best for everyone that I don't.
It's always the same. We could always go on for absolutely ages, and unfortunately, yeah, I've always said that I feel that I kind of want to get to a point where I come back to the beginning of my guests and then kind of go through it again, see where they're all up to, what they're on now, where, because well, we all evolve so quickly, don't we? And we learn a lot when we're on this kind of a path of our own, this holistic journey of our own. We just like learning new things that can help and assist and support people. So I often look back at my guests and think I must start back at the beginning at some point, and then just do another hour with everybody, because we could have talked for absolutely forever.
Absolutely, definitely.
Well, thank you very much, and to everyone out there, until next time, take care of yourselves.